Here we go. Tucker Carlson.
Who are the people? Who are the modern? Yes. Who are the descendants? So we know, and I believe, and I agree with you as a Christian, that God promised this land from modern day Iraq to modern day Egypt to this people, the Jews.
The Jews. Sound like they say the blacks. I'm just gonna chill. I'm just you know. I can, in so many ways to do this, you know. It's like having somebody in the like the torture chair, and they're already tied up to the torture chair, and then you open up your briefcase and you got all kind of different tools to torch their ass with, you know. You're like, damn, how should I do it, man? Like, should I use the small joint, the big joint, the sharp joint, the dull joint? What should I use, man? Y'all tell me. I'm just saying. He says he knows God promised land to the Jews. Just read it. Like, you don't have to say it. I have made a covenant with my chosen. The question is, who are the chosen people? Very simply, I have sworn unto David. So then the Jews say, well, we are sons of David. Now they got to claim to be bloodline descendants of the house of David, because forever I will establish your seed and build up your throne to all generations. So, you know, forever is a mighty long time. His seed shall endure. His throne as the sun before me, it shall be established as forever as the moon, steadfast as the witness of the sky. This is a forever thing. I will not be false unto David. And the reason we forgot is that if his children forsake my law, they don't keep the code, then I am going to visit them with the rod, with strokes, but my mercy will I not break off, man. I will be merciful, because I got a covenant. I ain't going to profane that. I've sworn by my holiness, I will not be false unto David. His seed shall endure. So, the land, the throne, has been promised with HAWAH's faithfulness forever. And all we have to do, you know, is keep the code, Deuteronomy, right? Hearken, listen, and observe, right? For us to get so much blessings that it overtakes us. Everywhere we go in, everywhere we go out, and we will be high above all the nations of the earth. So, Tucker says, as a Christian, I believe in the scripture, and yeah, Israel, you know, will be delivered, you know what I'm saying? People will be restored to their land again, right? Just like in Jeremiah, like, you know, so. All right. Let's just get our popcorn and see where they take this.
To Abram's, actually not to Abram's descendants, as it says in Genesis 15. Who are his descendants now, and how do we know who they are?
I think they're the Jews, and we know who they are because they've always been a Jewish people. There has been an unbroken line of Jewish people, and they've lived in this land for 3,800 years. Sometimes not very many of them, because they were chased out all over the world. They were hunted down. They were almost annihilated during the Holocaust. They came back. To this day, Tucker, they represent, you know how many Jews there are in the whole world?
Please,
No,
I understand. First of all, the greatest genocide of Jews no one ever mentions was by the Romans, where they were literally banned from Jerusalem for 500 years.
Yeah, of course.
And it's all awful. And I'm opposed to all of that. I'm opposed to mass killing of anybody, period. I'm opposed to
hear you say that.
I mean it.
Yeah,
And I hope
I
we can
believe
agree
that.
on that.
I believe that.
My question is, and it's not a bumper sticker answer, it's a sincere answer. How do we know? Because what you're saying is that certain people have a title to a highly contested region. They own it in some deep sense. So I think it's fair to ask, who are they and how do we know? So the current prime minister's ancestors weren't from here within recorded history. He has no deed. Bibi Netanyahu, on one side, his family's from Poland. They're from Eastern Europe. So how do we know that he has a connection to the people who God promised the land to, Abram's descendants? How do we know that?
Well, if you take the genealogies that come not only from the Old but the New Testament, you see that there is a historical connection through the entirety of the Old and the New Testament that details the Jewish connection to this land.
Does that include Bibi's
indisputable.
family? How do we know that if his family
But if they were
comes here?
scattered,
But how do we know it's the same people?
Look at this straw man argument, you know what I mean? The Jew, the Ish, he's like, look, it's right there in the Bible. Look at the genealogies. Of course the chosen people are the Hebrews. How come then none of them could say Hebrew and keep having to say Jew when the letter J has recently been added to the alphabet? Like, you know what I'm saying? There ain't no letter J. How come they can't say Hebrews? How come they can't mention King David? When that's the only shepherd, Ezekiel 37. How can we read this stuff and they act like it don't exist? So is the question, does the Bible say that the chosen ones are Israel? Or is the question, are you one of the bloodline descendants of the house of David or, you know, of Israel, right? So which question are they answering? It seems like, you know, he's asking, who are these chosen people, one, and how do you know that you are one of them, or Netanyahu, or these Israelis, and state of Israel, and all this stuff? How are they really tied to this? You can't just say, oh, because it's in the Bible. And, you know, according to the Bible, here's the genealogy. Yeah, we get that there are real bloodlines, and that's who we say we are. Because we've been cut off from being a nation. They came over here, brought us back to Egypt in ships, back to bondage, because they found us here free and brought us back to bondage in ships, Deuteronomy. Yeah, it's a flip on how they teach us. It's all doctrine. You're from Africa. No, they brought us from here to Africa on ships, to Poland, to Portugal, to Spain. They brought us from here, or put us in slavery on our own land, and brought a Hebrew interpreter, Louis Torres. Columbus brought Louis Torres to interpret the Hebrew, and he spoke Arabic. And we just got the whole Morocco flow. They know Moab is here, and they black. So why wouldn't the sons and daughters of Jacob also be copper-colored races found here? And that's a definition of an American in 1828. Copper-colored races found here. And these copper-colored people don't know who they are, but they brought a Hebrew interpreter to speak to you in India Superior. Now factor in the Prester John on the British Museum map, 1530. Prester John, priest king. And you realize they invaded the land of Prester John. They invaded the land of King David. They invaded Jerusalem. They invaded Judah. And then you realize Utah is Judah. Utah is Judah. That's just a, you know, that's just a little reminder of where we stand, right? This ain't me trying to argue who we are, right? I just got my popcorn. I'm just reacting to Tucker Carlson. I just want to let you know of the straw man argument they're having, that none of them are us. None of them got the drop. So they're just going in circles around each other. We're Jews because the Bible has genealogies, and therefore, but how do you know you're those people? Is y'all crazy? Can we get a straight answer? Can we get a straight answer around here? How do you know you're those people? I just told you how we know. I just showed you the definitions, the etymology, the actual factual history. But what are y'all gonna give us to prove that you're actually sons of David, man? What are you talking about?
No, why is that crazy? If you say to me,
if they speak the same language, if they worship the same God, if they
Whoa.
follow the same Bible,
Whoa.
if they follow the same cultures and traditions, and they always pray next year in Jerusalem, and they pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and they pray facing toward Jerusalem, does that not give you a little bit of a clue as to who they are?
Let's go through those things, because I would like to have a rational This is the conversation I've wanted. Bless you. Thank you for doing this. Let's just go through those things.
Okay.
So one of the things I admire most about Israel is they resurrected a dead language in 1948. Good for them.
Well, they really didn't resurrect it. It was existent.
Okay, I'm not. That's not. That's a compliment. I'm not slighting.
No. But it is the first time in all of human history that a language has survived through this length of time. It's. I would call it. You might not, but I would call it a miracle. One of many.
Okay,
that you can attribute to this.
I think it's wonderful as someone who loves language. Netanyahu's parents did not speak Hebrew. Okay, they didn't live in this region. Netanyahu, the founders of this country, were mostly secular. Some of them were avowed atheists. They were not praying for the peace of Jerusalem. They weren't praying at all because they didn't believe in God. There's no genealogy linking their families to the people of this land 3,000 years ago. They're none. So how do we know, since they didn't share a language, they didn't share a religion, they had no religion whatsoever, how do we know that they had a right to come here from Eastern Europe and
but they were
take
scattered.
the land?
They were scattered to Eastern Europe.
That.
They were scattered all over the world. There were many in Ethiopia. They were in Russia. They were in Poland. They were throughout Asia. Jews were all over the place, but they were still Jews. But they were still Jews.
Okay,
That's
so then,
what
let me
made
get to
them
the nub of the question, since again, a lot is at stake, a lot of money is at stake. Land is very valuable.
Whoa.
Israel has a
lot of lands at stake. We're talking about reversing the Fort Wayne treaties and all that. Yeah, if you admit that these copper color races here are real Hebrews that y'all invaded, do y'all know the ramifications of that? We know spiritually what HAWAH is about to do to this hijack. But just legally, and you connect that with the indigenous tribes too, proving that these indigenous tribes are Hebrew, that this was a Hebrew war, what is the Tecumseh War, Chickamauga War, more. That's what the Moors are saying. They know that they were up against Israel, seed of Jacob, all that. Like, they know what it was. Y'all acting like y'all just dumbfounded. And all this talk, so-called black people aren't even in this conversation, although he just mentioned Ethiopia. But we know that this is original Ethiopia. This is the east and not the west. Ethiops is a Greek word meaning burnt face. This is where the burnt face, copper color races, originate from. This is motherland right here. This is the old world. This is old Atlantis. This is old Egypt. This is old Jerusalem. This is old Judah.
Resources, by the way, if you're accused of a crime, you can hide here. That's a pretty good passport to have. It's a good thing, right? So who's entitled to it? I don't understand, and you're very discouraged in the United States from asking this question for some reason. It's a totally rational
I'm not
question.
discouraged.
No, you're not discouraging.
Yeah.
Others do. You're like the only person I can have this conversation with. Everyone will be like, shut up, Nazi. It's a foundational question. Are you speaking of an ethnic group or a religious group?
Well, I think you're looking at, for many people, it is religious. There are people who may not have a deep religious connection to Judaism, but they're still Jews.
Okay, so it's an ethnic category.
It is ethnic, but it is also religious. It is rooted in religion. You can't take it out of it. Now, that means
then
there are
how
some people,
can an atheist...
Well, I will tell you this. There are some people who say, I'm Christian. They never go to church. They never pray. They never read their Bible. They don't tithe.
But they're not entitled to citizenship on the basis of that.
Well,
they're
but
not
I'm saying
entitled to...
They still call themselves Christian, even though they identify in that way.
Here's the difference.
Yes, but that person, like you said, ain't giving citizenships and all these other things based on him saying that he's a Christian. But you're getting all these privileges, including land, just by saying that you're these people. And you say, how do you prove it? Well, if he faces the east and prays towards Jerusalem, that's a pretty good indicator he's a Jew. Let's get the babies out the bathwater. This is Reaction Drop 101.
So you're saying that people who have this identification have a deed to a huge chunk of land on the Mediterranean, okay? So there's, it's a right. You keep telling me it's a right. And so it's totally fair to say, if you come to my house and say, I've got the title to your house, I get to ask, may I see it? Where'd you get it? And that's exactly what happened here. People from Europe, Eastern Europe, came here, in a lot of cases, atheists, and kicked out a lot of people who lived here.
Land.
Well, but
they did not just throw people out.
They bought a lot of land. There's no question about that.
They did buy a lot of land.
But they also, in 1948, kicked out all.
Come on, bruh. We talking semantics, man. They bought land. The slave ships caught Jesus. And there's a lot of recon about who owned those slave ships. And we see everybody's against the copper color race. Everybody's against the Hebrew specifically. As we know, it's a more and more war as well. We factor that in. Oh boy, look at this face. Oh boy. Stuff starts getting exposed.
A lot of people.
In the war.
It was a war. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not want to relitigate the history. I'm just saying it's a fact.
Okay.
Including a lot of Christians wound up fleeing, and they lost their homes, and they've never been allowed back. And all of this was justified on the basis of this identity that is the ticket to the right that you keep referring to. So my question is very simple. I'm going to wait patiently for an answer. Does this right derive from religious affiliation or from genetics?
And I would say it's both. But I would also say that when you said the Christians were kicked out, Tucker, Christianity is growing in.
Look how they spin. These are spin masters. This is not our first time down the rodeo. Whenever we feature one of these issues and conversations, they take one thing and then they start spinning and building on a whole new subject. Christianity in 1407, like, man, is it genetic? Oh, it's both. But based on what you said about the Christians. But he's not going to go further into the genetics. Or they're going to say, Y chromosome, mother, through the mother. What happened to the seed? That seems to negate the seed of your father. You are the seed of your father, huh? An apple seed gets planted in whatever soil. It's still an apple. It's still an apple. Planting an apple seed in different soil might change, obviously some of its makeup, the type of apple, yada, yada, but it's still a freaking apple. It doesn't turn into an orange because you planted it in different soil. From here to Iran, to Iraq, to China, it's still an apple. The seed of David is still the seed of David. Still got the magic, still got the sauce. Are you saying that that you're this seed? I'm just talking to this jabroni. Are you saying you this seed, this remnant today, that's entitled to land, that has the right to all this, yada, yada? Or is it just a religion? Is it just something anyone could join if they have a belief? And what is your belief exactly? That you're the chosen, you're special, you're this. Where's your facts? See, they gave us nothing to work with, and we got it out the mud, right? We were planted deep in the soil, so when we started sprouting, it woke the whole world up. It shocked the whole world. It put everybody, on full alert. They all got afraid, and some celebrated because they've been waiting for this moment, that the seed again sprouts into the tree of life, man. But you try to take our story and go with all this suffering, yada, yada, while ignoring ours and ignoring your contribution to it and the come up you've come up on through our suffering. Because if we didn't suffer, you wouldn't have your billions and trillions of dollars. That's off of Hebrew suffering. But then you claim to be us.
Israel.
Okay, but
and there is a big lie that goes out there. But no, let me finish this because I keep hearing that Christians are really not treated well in Israel. That's a lie.
Well, there are lots of different. There are lots of different.
We're talking genetics, man. Stop spinning the conversation.
34,000 Christians in Israel in 1948. There are 184,000 Christians here today.
And by Israel, what are you counting?
You talking about the land?
What territory are you counting? You're
I'm
counting
talking about
Israel proper? Or are you counting
talking about Israel
the West
proper.
Bank as well and Gaza? I mean, what do you when you say Israel? Those numbers apply to what landmass?
It would be in Israel proper.
Okay.
There are 184,000. Now, I'll tell you where Christians are not doing very well. They're not doing very well in the Muslim-controlled countries. There's almost no Christians in Qatar, for example, except those who live in the Christian ghetto, who are the service workers.
I'm
You
sorry.
can't
Look,
pray.
I don't want to argue with you. There are many more Christians in Qatar than there are in Israel.
That's
So
not true.
it actually is true. And I refer you to Wikipedia, Mr. Ambassador.
Wikipedia,
I refer you to the government of Qatar, the government of Israel. These are knowable facts. Like I'm
in Jordan,
by the way,
numbers are down. In Syria, the numbers are down. In
I'm just
Lebanon, the
saying,
numbers are down.
there
I'm just
are
telling you that
about twice as many Christians.
but they live in
hold
the
on.
enclave. They are not native Qataris.
Okay, we're mixing so many different categories
Yeah.
here. I'm just saying I get things wrong all the time. You've just gotten something wrong, and I think it's important to acknowledge it. There are many more Christians in Qatar than there are in Israel. Fact.
How many?
Now you caught me. I don't know. I can look at my phone, but I was just there, and there are many more. Like whatever. But I just want to get to the point that forms the basis of this whole conversation, which is who has a right to the land.
Yeah.
Producers, this plugin helps you finish your tracks.
He can't get to the point because the spin master is always going to find a way out.
Of religion and ethnicity, because as I noted, and you agree, many of the founders, maybe the majority of the founders of modern Israel, did not believe in God at all. So they were not religious Jews. They weren't religious at all. They were atheists. They said they were atheists. I believe them. So that suggests it's ethnic. But it's also true, as you well know, because there's a famous court case about this, that ethnic Jews who convert to Christianity do not have the right of return. That was settled by the Israeli Supreme Court. I'm very confused. So that would suggest it's not ethnicity because you invalidate your Jewishness by converting to Christianity.
There are a number of Messianic Jews who live in Israel.
Okay.
Who are here.
I'm aware of
It's a
I'm aware of
significant
that
number.
But you're not contesting what I'm saying because it's a very famous court case.
The right of return has to do with your mother, your grandmother. It has to do with family
it's
ties.
ethnic.
There is a lot of
Tap dancer, man. This the Rat Pack right here. Dang. I mean, just hold on to your tap shoes, man.
live in Israel.
Okay.
Who are here.
I'm aware of
It's a
I'm aware of
significant
that
number.
But you're not contesting what I'm saying because it's a very famous court case.
The right of return has to do with your mother, your grandmother. It has to do with family.
Mother, grandmother, but not father. So they take the father completely out, which means they take the seed completely out. Then now you got to rely on their sciences, right? And mitochondria, yada, yada, and Y chromosome based on what they're getting from laboratories that they own and run and control. Now they control the science, but what they can't control is the seed. And even by saying mother, mother, you still are claiming genetics. But now they're saying they control the genetics because they control the sciences.
It's
ties.
ethnic.
There is a lot of, sure, ethnicity is a big part of the right of return.
Great.
To make aliyah,
Then-
to come to Israel,
Then
to live here.
Then if
So you're a bloodline Hebrew, but let's say you love JC and you rock with JC, but you can't come back to your bloodline, your birthright, and you're a bloodline, son of Ephraim or daughter of Manasseh, but now you are Islam, but that's still your land by birthright, and you can't come because of what? Like, you see, man, like, I'm glad they're having this conversation. Sometimes the battle of the WIGHTs, the battle of the jabronis, you learn a lot just getting your popcorn out.
But if both of your parents are Jewish and you have an ethnic right to the land, you are one of Abram's descendants, but you convert to Christianity, how is it you don't have the right to return? I'm totally confused.
But I know a number of people who have returned as Christians, but have.
He's not saying they do or why they don't. He says, but I know a few that have, like Spin Master X right here.
Jewish history.
Are
and
you
Jewish
saying that Jews who convert to Christianity
have Jewish history.
Are
and
you,
Jewish,
you convert to Christianity? How is it you don't have the right to return? I'm totally confused.
but I know a number of people who have returned as Christians, but have Jewish history.
Are
and
you
Jewish
saying that Jews who convert to Christianity have a right, a legal right to return? Because I
know that they do. Whether, when you say, do they have a right to return? Do they prove?
Bruh, it's illegal. It should be black and white. It's in paper. Is it illegal for them to return or not? Well, it could be. I don't know. I mean, I hear that they do. You know, they get around it. In other words, they get around it, but it's still illegal.
It's a legal category, as in any government.
Which is by their family history, their grandmother, their mother, and there are many aspects of that.
I've read it. I think,
but I know that these are
Jewish
people who are Christian, and they came here, made Aliyah. They had Jewish blood, Jewish history. They were Christian, Messianic, but they came here, and they were welcomed here.
And they were given full legal rights.
Absolutely.
And a passport.
Yeah.
So clearly, it's not true that you invalidate your right of return by converting to Christianity. That's just false.
I'm not aware of that. I know that there are a number of Christians here. I go to church with Christians every week here.
Of course.
And
but
do
you have a right to come and say, I am an ethnic Jew, even though I practice Christianity. Therefore, I have every bit as much right to move into a settlement in the West Bank or into East Jerusalem or anywhere I want, Galilee, anywhere, because I'm returning to the land of my forefathers. I have a legal right in the state of Israel, even though I've converted to Christianity. You're saying that's true?
I'm saying I know people who've done it. Now, can I tell you what the law specifically is? I'm not sure.
Well, it's really
I'm a
significant.
Christian. I don't have any Jewish roots, so therefore I cannot quote you the law. If you want me to do that, I'll look at it.
Well, it really matters because you're saying, in fact, people in the United States are being called anti-Semites, a lot of them, including me, because they somehow don't believe that Israel has a right to this land.
Do you think Israel has a right to this land?
No, you haven't defined what the land is, and you haven't defined who Israel is. So I really don't know.
It is the land they're living in now, the borders that they have.
The borders are moving. The borders have moved in the last year.
What do you mean the borders have moved?
Well, they are the 1967 borders. I'm including, the
East
West
Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria.
What are the borders of Judea and Samaria?
Well, you basically take the Jordan River, and it's west of the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, to the Lebanon border. And Israel did have control of the Sinai. They gave that to Egypt. They had control of it.
Right.
They gave it away in 1979 in the peace agreement.
But, okay. So whatever you call it, the land that was taken from Jordan in 1967, you call it Judea and Samaria. There's a significance to that I don't fully understand. I'm not against it.
It's
I
the
don't
biblical
know what it's the biblical
terms. 80% of the Bible happened in Judea and Samaria.
But we've also established that the Bible gives Jews the right to occupy the land from the Nile to the Euphrates. So I'm very confused by why we've shrunk the land and why we're
Israel has shrunk the land. They have made that decision. Okay. That's why they gave away Gaza. They gave away the Sinai.
Now's the part
They've
for
given
the
away
real
a lot
question.
of things.
Wow.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that.
Cause all y'all would be the fuck about it here, man. If they came with some real Abraham, real copper colored nogginess, y'all incubator babies will be the fuck about it here, man.
If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me.
Would we do that all over the world?
Well,
and everybody
this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
What about people who convert to Judaism? Would they have a right?
Well, you've just, you've just said
I mean,
that
there are
it's not
converts to Judaism, so
you just told
they
me,
can make Aliyah. They may not have
you've just
DNA.
told me that it doesn't matter. You told me moments ago, trying to keep track,
Okay.
that it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in God or whether or not you practice Torah Judaism or Rabbinic Judaism, which is something else that I don't even know if we should, I don't even know what that means, but it doesn't matter whether you're, quote, a religious Jew or not. What matters is that you are part of the Jewish people to whom God gave this land that extends from the Nile to the Euphrates. And so if you believe that, wouldn't you want to know with a burning passion who those people are? And because of science, we can now know who those people are. So why aren't we finding out?
I guess you could propose a DNA test for everybody who comes here, everybody who lives here. But the point
I'm comfortable with secular nation states where it's none of this is done on the basis of blood. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'll just say that.
But there are people who may not have bloodlines, but who have converted to Judaism. Are they going to be able to live here? Are you going to kick them out?
By your standards, they can't live here. Because you just told me that they have a right to live here because God gave them the land because they're the descendants of Abram.
They're the descendants of Abraham. But if they're the spiritual descendants of Abraham and they've now decided that they're converting to Judaism.
And that's, he's speaking as a convert. So when he's trying to speak as genetics, he slides it off and says, but what about the converts? What about us? What about us? Now he's speaking, he's asking a true question. But what happens to us? What happens to those that convert to the religion of Judaism? But you're not even caring about Judah. How does HAWAH greet you if you don't care about HAWAH's daughters and sons? And the convert now wants to flex themselves all over the root of the tree, right? The unnatural branches want to flex themselves over the natural branches and the root of the tree. Matter of fact, they want to take the whole tree, uproot the whole tree, put us in perpetual slavery.
Judaism, then do they have a right to live in Israel?
Well, there's a whole legal literature in Israel on that question. And my understanding is that certain types of modern Judaism qualify a person and other types don't. Is that your understanding? I don't believe that people converted, and I could have this wrong, but I know people who've faced this personally, people. I don't believe people who've converted in a Reform synagogue have the right of return. I don't think that is, because I know people who've married into Jewish families and they find out they don't have the right of return. So that is perplexing to me.
Go get the full drop on Tucker Carlson, man. You know what I'm saying? Fair use. And, you know, we'll get some drops from this. This is We Woke Now, kind of breaking it down.
Land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Who are the modern? Yes. Who are the descendants? So we know, and I believe, and I agree with you as a Christian, that God promised this land from modern day Iraq to modern day Egypt to this people, the Jews. To Abram's, actually not to Abram's descendants, as it says in Genesis 15. Who are his descendants now, and how do we know who they are?
I think they're the Jews, and we know who they are because they've always been a Jewish people. There has been an unbroken line of Jewish people, and they've lived in this land for 3,800 years. Sometimes not very many of them, because they were chased out all over the world. They were hunted down. They were almost annihilated during the Holocaust. They came back. To this day, Tucker, they represent, you know how many Jews there are in the whole world?
Please,
No, but
I understand. First of all, the greatest genocide of Jews no one ever mentions was by the Romans, where they were
land.
Does that include Bibi's family? How do we know that if his family
they were
comes here?
Scattered.
But how do we know it's the same people? No, why is that crazy? If you say to me,
if they speak the same language, if they worship the same God, if they follow the same Bible, if they follow the same cultures and traditions, and they always pray next year in Jerusalem, and they pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and they pray facing toward Jerusalem, does that not give you a little bit of a clue as to who they are?
Let's go through those things, because I would like to have a rational. This is a conversation I've wanted. Bless you. Thank you for doing this. Let's just go through those things.
Okay.
So one of the things I admire most about Israel is they resurrected a dead language in 1948. Good for them.
Nope, they don't speak actual original Hebrew, right? That's Yiddish. That's modern Germanized. That is not an original language.
Well, they really didn't resurrect it. It was existent.
Okay, I'm not. That's not. That's a compliment. I'm not slighting.
No. But it is the first time in all of human history that a language has survived through this length of time. It's. I would call it. You might not, but I would call it a miracle. One of many.
They don't speak Hebrew.
Okay.
That you can attribute to this
I
language.
think it's wonderful as someone who loves language. Netanyahu's parents did not speak Hebrew. Okay, they didn't live in this region. Netanyahu, the founders of this country, were mostly secular. Some of them were avowed atheists. They were not praying for the peace of Jerusalem. They weren't praying at all because they didn't believe in God.
So this had nothing to do with the code, the commandments, any of that stuff. I'm belly flopping.
That is the ticket to the right that you keep referring.
Worship idols such as yourself, when there is a Sanhedrin.
To kill us.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the Torah
So
says.
we know how the Jewish people feel about Christians, yes? That you discriminate against Christians.
Christians are idol
You
worshippers.
discriminate
the
against
Torah
Christians.
says that Christianity is.
They are worshiping idols. God, can't argue with that. They are worshiping Jesus. They are putting it on a cross. They are, painting these images throughout their churches, their walls, their homes. They are worshiping. I can't be,
Idol worship.
So this is a battle between these hijacked Christians, man, worshiping idols, and these issues, that no one knows where they come from, but they're definitely not bloodline Israel, which is why it's illegal to even take a DNA test in Israel like that, because they don't, want to expose the truth. So, and Israel's over here, which is crazy. So it's really a puppet show, man. It's people just pretending to be other people. Do these look like King David's seed or, I don't know, Satan's seed? Does this look like something with a soul or something that's soulless? Just look in their eyes. Look at the hate. Now they're yelling at Christians. Imagine how they feel about us. Yeah, just look. Look at this, man. Look at this, man. Does this look like the seed of the Most High, or is it evil, evil, evil? Look at this. Look at this. Ugh. I gotta capture this moment, man, woo, that's saying it all right there. This don't even look human. This thing don't even look human. You gotta tell us what this is. This is the seed of Israel. This is the seed of Israel. And they want to spit on other people and act crazy. This is it. And then they're looking at us in the streets. Oh, well, you guys aren't no better. Well, then guess what? We need to get in code. We need to get in code. You know what I mean? What else you gonna talk about there? When we out of code, this is what we look like, y'all. All right, so this ain't just about other people. I'm taking it home, man. We're gonna go home. When we out of code, killing each other in these streets, talking about demon time, this is what we look like to them. They say, that's not the seed of Israel. Y'all ain't the real Hebrews. But we can show them the facts of how our kingdom was invaded, searched out, captured, how they have, for a time, cut us off from being a nation, cut our language off. How could the Hebrew language survive if we've been cut off from being a nation? That's prophecy. the fact that they're so-called still unbroken, speaking their so-called ancient language, right, is proof they are not the children of Israel based on prophecy, because we got cut off and literally scattered in slave ships from America first. They just trying to look like us and get locks in their head, man. They know the ancient Hebrews had locks. This is their version of locks, man.
Earlier incidents include the desecration of a Protestant cemetery on Mount Zion, an attack on international Christians during a day of prayer for Jerusalem.
Every second of their life, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand, so many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many, 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Indian, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that, according to the Torah, do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews, even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
Damn, he said JC. And what about y'all? Y'all rock with the Most High of everything? What do y'all believe in? Who's your creator? Do you keep the code? You know, this is the battle of the WIGHTs, man. For real, for real. Battle of the whites. Back to the Tucker flow.
What do you, when you say Israel, those numbers apply to what landmass?
It would be in Israel proper.
Okay.
There are 184,000. Now, I'll tell you where Christians are not doing very well. They're not doing very well in the Muslim-controlled countries. There's almost no Christians in Qatar, for example.
To the land.
Learn how to play ball. That's what the Zionists did, except instead of a baseball team, they went to try to convince the Jews that the Jewish people are a nation, like France and like Spain. We'll get a land, that's Israel, that's our stadium. We'll get baseball bats and balls, we'll create a language. They sat down to create a language.
Woo, body bag. They just said, oh, we just picked up and resurrected a dead language. Nope, we created a language. It is modern Yiddish, Hebrew-ish from the Jewish.
Because nations need languages. You can convert to Judaism, you can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is. The religion created the Jewish people. The definition of a Jewish person is somebody who...
The religion, the idea and the intention behind that idea, which is the hijack, created a people, not the other way around. The religion created the people.
...is transformed by receiving the Torah.
We're going to show you 13 mind-blowing use.
This is mind blasting right here. How y'all digging it, man? We're going to get a few more minutes of this reaction drop.
And the majority of Israel identifies as not religious. So then are those people Jews or not Jews or what? And then also, by the way, I mean, Rob, if you convert to Judaism, you're eligible for birthright, I believe, right? So wait, so which one is it? Like, what exactly is the claim of Netanyahu and the state of Israel here? It's like, oh, we genetically go all the way back, therefore this is our land. It's like, okay, but that's like, so now it's like a scientific genetic claim. But like, why is it yours? Because you were there a long time ago. It's like, oh, because God promised it to you. Okay, so now it's a religious claim. So now it's like so now you have to say, Rob, that a Jewish kid from Brooklyn has more of a claim to Palestine than an Arab who's born in Palestine, who goes back 600 years.
And you said it's a mixture of religion and ethnicity, because as I noted, and you agree, many of the founders, maybe the majority of the founders of modern Israel, did not believe in God at all. So they were not religious Jews. They weren't religious at all. They were atheists. They said they were atheists. I believe them. So that suggests it's ethnic. But it's also true, as you well know, because there's a famous court case about this, that ethnic Jews who convert to Christianity do not have the right of return. That was settled by the Israeli Supreme Court.
They also can't define what a Jew is. Let me just go ahead and read some of this to you. It says, this act may be cited as the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act of 2023. It is the sense of Congress that Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. While such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, individuals who face discrimination based on actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics do not lose protection under such title for being members of a group that share a common religion. So they admit right there that while the such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, which is what being Jewish is a religion. That's what it is.
Well, joining us for our weekly segment, Bottom Line, is Allgemeiner CEO David Efune. So jump right in. Genetically speaking, are Jews white?
Well, Natasha, it's important to understand, firstly, the intense sensitivity that this question has.
Spin Masters, y'all ready for the Spin Master Awards? Get some more minutes. We're going to get on to Antarctica and come back to this. We'll do, just continue this series, continue talking how we talk right here on Patreon. Please join our memberships. Make sure you're in the next conversation.
For the Jewish community. And actually, it's coming up at a personally very relevant time for me. Today is the anniversary of the passing of my great-grandfather, David Weinstock, who was arrested by the Nazis in Vienna in September 1939. And he was taken to the anthropological department at the Vienna Museum of Natural History, and he was subjected to, together with 440 other Jews, to degrading tests and measurements because he was considered by the Nazis to be of an inferior race. So it really is the height of irony and insult that when Jews express concern about anti-Semitism being ignored and a blindness to anti-Semitism, they're then lumped into the white category.
I want to get Dr. Meyer's opinion on this. Classifying it as white Jew, because we know there's black Jews, How does that make you feel? How does that initially hit you when I say, if I said black and white Jewish relations?
I guess that's mostly what I deal with is in my courses is those interactions. I think, again, in America, most Jews are Ashkenazic Jews who are white. Sometimes part of the problem between the two communities is that some people will take advantage of that, will use their whiteness as a way of promoting themselves, as a way of integrating themselves into whatever community they want to be in by removing themselves and denigrating themselves from some other community. Right. I find that problematic.
Jewishness is categorized as whiteness.
I'm very confused. So that would suggest it's not ethnicity, because you invalidate your Jewishness by converting to Christianity?
There are a number of Messianic Jews who live in Israel. Who are here.
I'm aware of
It's
I'm
a
aware of
significant
that
number.
But you're not contesting what I'm saying, because it's a very famous court case.
The right of return has to do with your mother, your grandmother. It has to do with family ties.
It's ethnic.
There's a lot of, sure, ethnicity is a big part of the right of return.
Great.
To make aliyah, then to come to Israel.
Converted to Christianity, that's just false.
I'm not aware of that. I know that there are a number of Christians here. I go to church with Christians every week here.
Of course.
And
but
there's
do you have a right to come and say, I am an ethnic Jew, even though I practice Christianity? And doing that?
And we do have DNA tests, which, by the way, are banned in Israel. You're not allowed to get DNA tests in Israel.
Ladies and gentlemen, my DNA. No, I bet you thought it was going to be a lot crazier than that, right?
I want to see these samples. What sample, what mother are they, what mitochondria are they using as the official Jewish mitochondria?
Now, you might ask yourself, why is it illegal to obtain this in the state of Israel? Because it proves through your DNA that Jews around the world have no ancestral ties to the land of Israel. But according to Israeli law, the fact that I have Jewish blood gives me more right to somebody's home and land in the land of Palestine than somebody that has been there for hundreds of years. Doesn't make sense.
This TikTok caused a storm online, with many debating what his results, which show no trace of being from Palestine or the Middle East, despite being Jewish, mean.
There are Ashkenazi Jews who are entirely European in their DNA. That's why you're not allowed to have a DNA test in Israel, because it will reveal that virtually none of them are Semitic, virtually none of them have any ancestral connection to the land. I was viciously assaulted by a manager in the BBC who had recently converted to Judaism. It's fine. I love all religions. But you can't say I've now converted to Judaism and therefore I have a right to go to the land of Palestine and live in the house of someone whose ancestors have been living in it for thousands of years.
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that.
And about
You see, they're just talking in circles and circles, man. And none of them are kicking no real recon, no real facts. They're not talking about the seed of the Father. They're not talking about, I'm saying, everything that went down here, man, and the connection with the indigenous Hebrews or the indigenous so-called Indians. They're not talking about India superior. They're not, letting you know that this is the real East and not the West over here. So it's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
All I'm saying.
And there was a designation to the family of nations of the world that there would be a Jewish homeland. Let's get to that point, because I think you've taken us on several trails here, and I'm not sure we can follow them all. But is there a reason that the Jewish people that represent, and I want to get back to this because you didn't let me finish a while ago, they represent 0.2% of the world's population. In the entirety of the world, there are about 16 million Jews total, and 8 million of them live here. The rest live mostly in New York or South Florida and a few other places.
Okay.
So this is a small population of people. They have connection to this land, historically, biblically.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
If Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense
ancestrally,
how do we know that? Do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
When I show you what I'm about to show you, your mind will be blown. You're going to be blindsided. Every single Israeli prime minister has a fake name. Did you know that? I was just talking about Ben Gurion. Do you know what his original name is? It's Grun, Gruen. He changed it to make it sound more Jewish and sound more Middle Eastern. Do you know what Netanyahu's real name is? It's not Netanyahu, it's Milkovsky.
This story begins in October 1949, 1 year after Israel's formation. This is when Netanyahu was born, the second child of a historian. His paternal grandfather was a rabbi and a Zionist writer.
And these are the real Judah. Is that what we're saying? This is Judah? And this is who gets to claim who comes in the land and who don't?
His name was Nathan Milikowski. Later in life, he Hebraized his surname from Milikowski to Netanyahu, a name which means God has given.
This is Yair Netanyahu's DNA test that has been leaked. You can see right there, his Y DNA is RM198. Descendants of RM198 come from Poland, Russia, Germany, and other European countries. Does this look Semitic to you? Does this look Middle Eastern?
Maybe you will ask, who is Mr. Milikowski? I did ask, and you told me, but I didn't know before. He is Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the real name. Prime Minister or President of Israel. The colonial settler state of Israel.
I swear to God, go and look it up. You'll find Milkovsky. That's his real name. These are, remember what Israelis are. Israelis are European Jews. They don't come from Palestine, but they want you to make you believe. They want to make believe and make you believe that they come from this area, that they are indigenous to the land, that they're so Jewish, right? Even though they have no connection. So they change their names.
He doesn't. So no one does. That's the point. So how do we know that he has any connection to this land at all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language, the Bible, the land.
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So on what basis does he have a right to be here?
Very much speaks the language. He has fought for the land. His family has fought for the land.
Dodging a very obvious question, which is, where does this right come from? And
he's like, yeah, he fought in some of the wars to invade the land, though, right? His daddy fought in the war also to invade the land. He must be Jewish. And he does speak modern Yiddish. He must be an ancient Hebrew.
And the reason it's meaningful is because there are a lot of people in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European.
The Jews who were brought in Israel, most of them are white. Not most of them, almost all of them are white, including me. I was brought in Israel from a country which is called Bulgaria. It's a European country. And I can tell you that in every European country, there are Jews, and there is so-called organization, Jewish Agency, which is trying to take those Jews to Israel. If you track this organization, you can find out that this is not an Israeli organization. This is an American organization. Jewish Agency is an American organization which has the exclusive right to decide who is Jewish and who is not on this planet, and who to be taken to Israel and who's not. Now, if you do research, you will find out that in Africa, in Black Africa, they're looking for Jews only in Ethiopia. They bring Jews only from Ethiopia. And I can tell you by knowing a lot of people, Ethiopian Jews here in Israel, that they're treated very badly, very badly. And many of them commit suicide because they cannot take it. So they come from some place, Ethiopia, they don't have much there, but they live decent life. And when they come here and try to be humiliated and so on, some of them cannot even take it. Now, what I'm trying to say is that why from each white country this Jewish agency is trying to bring Jews, and when it's about Black Africa, they're going to Ethiopia, and this is where they stop. The only one place. Now, because of the same thing, they're trying to do the white supremacy here. They try to bring white guys here and to take the supremacy over Arabs, which are the local citizens, and over blacks, which are so far they're only the Ethiopian Jews. Now, what I'm trying also to say is that another question is why America needs Israel. There is no oil like in other Middle Eastern countries. There's nothing they can be attracted to. But why do they do all these things? Why do they invest money, bring white people and so on, when they build their system of white supremacy, just like in America they build in Israel? Why? And I can tell you why. Because the true Jews, according to the Bible, you can check it in the Bible, you can read Job 30 and some other places. They have never been white. They have been people of color. And they have not...
Body bag for the illusion. We already know this, but when they tell on themselves and they admit it, that means they are choosing up, man. You know, give even those that don't look like us or ain't from, you know what I'm saying, our tribe, man, you're gonna get some, you know, real ones that choose up too. You're like, man, it ain't me. They don't look like me. These people have always been copper colored people, man.
Stopped in Ethiopia. They were in Ethiopia, Sudan, and they have settled in West Africa. From West Africa, they have been taken as slaves to America.
they were taken from America to West Africa. But I understand the point. You're dealing with the same people in the same transit, and he's pointing right to the so-called black Americans today, waking up, realizing you're the treasure ones, and that you've been cut off from being a nation.
Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible. America gonna do everything, gonna invest as much money as it has, gonna fight as much wars as they can, gonna invite as much weapons as they can, just to hide this away from you.
You know what you...
In Ethiopia, Sudan, and they have settled in West Africa. From West Africa, they have been taken as slaves to America. Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible. America gonna do everything, gonna invest as much money as it has, gonna fight as much wars as they can, gonna invite as much weapons as they can, just to hide this away from you.
You know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's what we are. If you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said.
No, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
You can convert to Judaism.
Ain't that some serpent shit to say? Do you want to be Israelite, or do you want to be a Jew? We'll let you be Jews. Shout out to my Igbo niggas, you know what I mean? Igbo, Hebrew, got a lot of family in Nigeria, got a lot of connection. You know what I'm saying? Both sides of the water.
All right. I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
You can convert to Judaism. You can't convert to a blood family. You cannot convert to a race. Judaism is a religion. That's all it is.
Thank you. I'll answer that question. Go ahead, I will help you. After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
Tell us more about your work.
Ooh, put him in his place. He says, bruh, minority cannot swallow majority. We're Israelites. We're the majority. We are bigger than you. We're not trying to convert to the minority.
I will help you. After the demise of Solomon, we now have...
And look at this serpent start squiggling around, man, squirming around. Trying to give him an ultimatum and hijack him right on his own couch.
The northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
Tell us more about your work and the coursework that you're doing, because you are a real advocate for this topic and why it's so important in the times we're living in.
I appreciate it. I think the most important thing is like the if so, so what? So we've established that there are these individuals over here, but the next question is what do we do about it? Is everyone's supposed to convert and come back to Israel? But if we think that way, there's really 100 million people around the world that have this Israelite identity. There's really 100 million people around the world that have this Israelite identity.
Niggas.
There's really 100 million people around the world that have this Israelite identity.
Is there a reason that the Jewish people that represent, and I want to get back to this because you didn't let me finish a while ago, they represent 0.2% of the world's population. In the entirety of the world, there are about 16 million Jews total.
Is it 100 million or 16 million? That's a big differentiation, boss.
In the entirety of the world, there are about 16 million Jews total.
There's really 100 million people around the world that have this Israelite identity.
16 million.
100 million.
16 million.
There's really 100 million people around the world that have this Israelite identity coming from the tribes. And Israel's, smaller than the size of New Jersey. Is it sustainable to think in the way of having to convert and bring back? And if you look at the Lemba, they don't even want to convert. They said, why are we converting to something we're already part of?
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites? Or you want to be Jews?
This is 1925 Jerusalem, man. Over there, man. So what this tells us is that their war on Palestine and all that was really just kicking out more niggas, more niggas, man. More so-called black people. Just like here. Just like Europe, just like everywhere. Now again, this is Jerusalem over there. We know that the real Jerusalem, all this is right here. So a lot of these families and tribes, yes, they are so-called black, right? But really, you know what I'm saying, we got different, mixtures. You got Hamitic tribes, different things. So you're not just seeing Shem when you look at these pictures. You're seeing a lot of Ham as well, North Africa, different things, Morocco, Moab, Canaan, you got a whole nother mixtures, right? So, we get the point, but just know that this ain't real. You always got to dodge the hijack. They give us a little truth and they muddy it up, right? They put some they put some Joey crack on it, man. They put some fentanyl. Put some fentanyl on it, man. But it definitely proves that nobody in this area looked like them before 1947. 20 years later, invasion. And all these buildings were already there. Now, all the hijacks line up against the wall. You know what I mean? Right here is nothing but melanated people lining up on the Wailing Wall.
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification.
All right, man. What are y'all thoughts? I mean, you know, y'all remember what the bro said, man.
So,
remember he laid it out, man. We've been dropping this for a minute. I get a couple minutes, and then we'll dismount into some Antarctica drop.
who are the real Jews?
This land from modern day Iraq.
Okay, I thought that was the whole speech you were giving. Let me see. Here we go.
Occupying the tents of Shem, the real Shemites. Shem's not there. It's the Zionist occupiers that.
Shem's not there, and they trying to take Shem off the map. The Morocco flow over here too, right? Ham and Kush.
Are there.
So how do we know, since they didn't share a language, they didn't share a religion, they had no religion whatsoever, how do we know that they had a right to come here from Eastern Europe?
And if I'm right, it's 1982, and he didn't go by Benjamin Netanyahu back then. He went by whatever his more, European-sounded name was. He was Netanyahu by the 90s.
Why did he change his name?
Well, they all kind of, because the whole thing, Joe, is that they're all, Israel was a European, construct. They were made by a bunch of Europeans who came over and created Israel. But then they have to claim that they're the true Semitic people.
Is it true that genetic testing is outlawed there?
I believe that is true. I believe that's true. I mean, double check me on that, but I believe it's true.
We should definitely double check that
permission
right now
from the government to go get DNA tests and stuff.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land.
All this land. And so, God promised us all this land. So, I don't know who these other people are here, but God didn't promise it to them. He promised it to us. And so, let's just say, hypothetically, if, say, the truth is that the Jews of 2,000 years ago weren't actually kicked out of the land, but in fact, they were forced to convert, and that actually those people who you're saying were never promised the land are actually the people who were promised the land and then converted to Islam. And in fact, you're just some European who came in here way after that. That, I'm just saying, hypothetically, if that was the case, that would be something that maybe you would want to control the information of.
Who are the true Jews? Well,
It's kind of cold work right there. So he's like, if they mobbed in to the real Hebrews and force converted them to Islam, and now you're just calling them, Islamic, Arabic, yada, yada, but they're the real Hebrews that were force converted, and you just converted into who they are, and now you saying that the land is yours and not the people who was first force converted. That shit is crazy.
the Fehalim, which is a term for the so-called Palestinians, the migrant farmers that never left the land of Israel in 70 of the Common Era when the Romans came in. They still were attached to the land. They were called the Fehalim, or what we call today the so-called Palestinians, are in fact the descendants of the poor agricultural Jewish society that stayed in the land, yet they converted to Islam in the 6th and 7th centuries to avoid paying the Islamic jizya tax, because if they had done that, they would have lost their land, and they were attached to the land, so therefore they converted to Islam so that they could stay in the land, working the soil that their forefathers worked. This is recognized in 1918 by the historians David Ben-Gurion, who of course was the future Prime Minister of Israel back then, and Yitzhak Ben-Zvi, the future President of Israel. Both of them historians recognize this fact. Today, of course, it's buried in your history books. But what about the affluent, regal Jews that weren't connected to the land? Because we've addressed who the poor migrant workers are, the Fehalim. But not everyone in the tribe of Judah was connected to the land. There was a royal, regal class
that were merchants, that would travel throughout the empire and throughout Judea and throughout the Roman Empire as merchants. These were the regal, affluent Jews that weren't connected to the land, but they were engaged in trade and export. Who are they? And where did these royal nomadic Jews migrate to?
I don't understand, and you're very discouraged in the United States from asking this question for some reason. It's a foundational question. But I just want to get to the point that forms the basis of this whole conversation, which is who has a right to the land?
Excuse me, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And HAWAH shall bring you into Mitzrayim, Egypt again with ships. And the way of which I said to you, you shall see it no more again.
So we got brought back to Egypt, or Egypt means bondage, because we weren't supposed to see bondage no more. In a way, definitely, that we're not supposed to see bondage. You know, they took us from, the Caribbeans and dropped us off in Virginia, or dropped us off in Florida, or picked you up from Florida and dropped you off in Belize. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, of course, it's a different type of slavery than, anybody had ever heard of, the way that they did it, right? You're talking about the whites, you're talking about the WIGHT, demons and chattel slavery and whips and chains. You know what I'm saying? So the torment and the torture, that the worst of the heathen, HAWAH said, I'll bring the worst of the heathen if you do not repent, if you do not snap it back and keep the code. Keep my commandments, observe my statutes, my laws. Now, are these people claiming to be us, saying that this happened to them?
And there you shall be sold to your enemies for slaves.
Did this happen to them?
And female slaves, and no man shall buy you. And that is what happened to the regal class of the house of Judah. The history of slavery? Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? Because Islam designed infernal slavery, and then the Ashkenazi Khazars.
Islam meaning the Moor, Morocco, Moabite, Psalms 83 Confederacy, and then come the Ashkenazi, who is the incubator baby.
Those who say they are Jews and are not are the ones that marketed it, and the regal Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans. Because you've got...
Which are the Moorish.
Got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land, because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility, and they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. And there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners. There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous black African hunters that resented
Moabites in there. Let's go.
the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. And number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro house of Judah.
Confederacy, Psalms 83, let go.
And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. You see, it's just like Al-Qaeda today. Or is it ISIS? Or is it ISIL? Or is it IS? I mean, right? Let's just...
They went from ISIS to ICE.
Just change the name as much as possible to throw you all off so you really don't know what's going on. Let's keep switching the identity to hide the people. Why don't we just keep renaming you? Are you Negro? Oh, no, you're not Negro. No, you're colored. No, you're not colored. You're African American. And this is what they name you. The slavers name you this. Because I know a white guy who grew up in South Africa, and he now lives in America. He is an African American, and more African American than most. Do you see how African American is a misnomer?
Misnomer.
It's a misnomer.
Misnomer.
Don't check that box.
Let's go.
It's a title given to blacks by democratic slavers. Okay? Let's be real.
Ooh-wee. Tucker Carlson opened up a can of worms with that one, didn't he? Man, that's a highly sensitive, controversial topic and subject. But what did you all think of the video? I put that video together. I took all the compilation of the clips, put together a good narrative for you to let you know that the more you continue to pay attention, the further down the rabbit hole that you will go. And so how much further down the rabbit hole can you go? You will be surprised on what you discover and what you find, especially about your own history when it comes to your own identity. And so I want y'all all to do me one good favor right now. Please like the video, subscribe.
Hey, we appreciate y'all. Y'all go check out The Preach Perspective. I'm up in there right now, man. I'm up in it right now, man. I appreciate y'all. Let's talk Antarctica. Shout out Tartaria Vault. Let's belly fly, man. In this Antarctica drop, man. What's happening? Because you can only go to Antarctica after this conversation. We can only talk flat drop 101 and what's happening. Let's expand our mind, bro.